This is not just a story of a war. It is a story of a forgotten people, a shattered homeland, and a dream that turned into a nightmare. For over 3 decades, a small island in the Indian Ocean bled in silence. The world watched, barely blinking as one of the most brutal civil wars of the modern era unfolded. At the heart of this storm was a group called the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, known to the world as the Tamil Tigers. To some, they were freedom fighters. To others, they were terrorists. To those who lived through it, they were everything and nothing. This is the untold story of war, loss, and identity. This is the unseen war.
These are the camps in Sri Lanka that few foreign journalists are allowed to visit. Up to 300,000 Tamil refugees are living here after fleeing the final battle between government troops and Tamil Tiger rebels in the country's north earlier this year. The Sri Lankan government has come under intense criticism for its treatment of these civilians, and authorities are suspicious of reporters. We are accompanied by several military minders who force us to erase images they do not approve of. Even under such conditions, we have a glimpse of life for these Tamil refugees.
We have nothing. We've lost everything we had. My 2 kids are studying and we need to find some money to live. We can't always rely on aid.
It's not just journalists who are feeling the brunt of government restrictions. Authorities are also tightening control on foreign aid agencies. Since the end of June, medical staff from Doctors Without Borders have not been allowed to enter the camps, working only out of this field hospital nearby.
MSF friends had access to the camps till 3 weeks ago, and now it's a bit more difficult because we don't have access to the camps, so we are not able to discuss and meet with people, Ministry of Health staff working in the camps. But we continue to have meetings with them on a daily basis.
The government has asked all foreign aid agencies, including the International Committee for the Red Cross, to phase down their operations, despite the continuing needs of the Tamil civilians. Authorities say their help is no longer needed. The government has enough resources.
The security forces and the government, we are all getting together and we are doing our level best to make sure that these people are comfortable. We are giving all the best of facilities.
With the onset of monsoon in the coming months, aid groups are worried about the conditions in the camps. Sanitation and clean water are crucial, with diseases like typhoid a real threat. Relief workers hope, despite the government restrictions, they can stay on to continue their work.
Emergence of Tamil militancy has its roots in the political developments and ethnic tensions in post-independent Sri Lanka. Sinhalese-led governments attempted to reduce the increased presence of the Tamil minority in government jobs, which led to ethnic discrimination, seeded hatred and divisive policies, including the Sinhala Only Act and anti-Tamil riots, which gave rise to separatist ideologies among many Tamil leaders. In the early 1970s, the United Front government of Sirimavo Bandaranaike introduced the policy of standardization to curtail the number of Tamil students selected for certain faculties in the university. In 1972, the government added a district quota as a parameter within each language. A student named Satya Seelan formed Tamil Manavar Peravai, Tamil Students League, to counter this. This group comprised Tamil youth who advocated the rights of students to have fair enrollment. Inspired by the failed 1971 insurrection of Janatha Vimukti Peramuna, it was the first Tamil militant group of its kind. In 1972, Prabhakaran teamed up with Chetty Thanabalasingam in Jaffna to form the Tamil New Tigers, TNT, with Thanabalasingam as its leader, 38. After he was killed, Prabhakaran took over. At the same time, Nataraja Tangaturai and Selvaraja Yogachandran, better known by his nom de guerre Kutamani, were also involved in discussions about an insurgency. They would later, in 1979, create a separate organization named Tamil Eelam Liberation Organization, TELO, to campaign for the establishment of an independent Tamil Eelam. The LTTE was founded on 5 May 1000 976 as the successor to the Tamil New Tigers. Uma Maheswaran became its leader and Prabhakaran its military commander. A 5-member committee was also appointed. It has been stated that Prabhakaran sought to refashion the old TNT, new LTTE, into an elite, ruthlessly efficient, and highly professional fighting force by the terrorism expert Rohan Gunaratne. Tamil United Liberation Front leader Velupillai Prabhakaran, who was in 1977 elected as the opposition leader of Sri Lanka Parliament, clandestinely supported the LTTE. Amirthalingam believed that if he could exercise control over the Tamil insurgent groups, it would enhance his political position and pressure the government to agree to grant political autonomy to the Tamils. Thus, he provided letters of reference to the LTTE and to other Tamil insurgent groups to raise funds. In 1980, Junius Richard Jayewardene's government agreed to devolve power by the means of district development councils upon the request of TOLF. By this time, LTTE and other insurgent groups wanted a separate state. They had no faith in any sort of political solution. Thus, the TOLF and other Tamil political parties were steadily marginalized, and insurgent groups emerged as the major force in the north.
Now he and the British Development Minister Mike Foster will tomorrow travel to the camps where many of these people are being sent. Getting aid to them is now an urgent priority, but the war's continuing. Tamil sources claim that in the next 6 hours there'll be a massive assault by the army on the no-fire zone. This protracted standoff perhaps coming to a horrifying close. Nick Payton-Walsh, Channel 4 News, Colombo.
Yet to see what's left of the town, but inside what was the Tamil Tigers headquarters, we're served tea by the brigade commander. Then Colonel Surasinghe walks us to the hospital and talks us through the battle that resulted in what he calls a liberation.
So this was under LTTE control.
This once marked the beginning of the zone that was held by the Tamil Tigers. As you came along this road, you'd have to get out of your vehicles, show your identification to the Tigers, and then you'd enter what was effectively their town. The only evidence now of their presence here is the twisted metal of their checkpoints.
The LTTE has been condemned by various groups for assassinating political and military opponents. The victims include Tamil dissenters who coordinated with the Sri Lanka government and Tamil paramilitary groups assisting the Sri Lankan army. The assassination of the Sri Lankan president Ranasinghe Premadasa is attributed to LTTE. The 7th Prime Minister of the Republic of India, Rajiv Gandhi, was assassinated by an LTTE suicide bomber, Thinmoji Rajaratnam, on 21 May 1991. On the 24th of October 1994, LTTE detonated a bomb during a political rally in Thodolanga Grand Pass, which killed most of the prominent politicians of the United National Party, including presidential candidate Gamini Dissanayake MP, cabinet ministers Weerasinghe Malamarachi and GM Premachandra, Asi Abegunasakara MP, and Gamini Wijasakara MP. The LTTE leader Prabhakaran denied allegations of killing innocent Sinhalese civilians, claiming to condemn such acts of violence. In the case of Sinhalese in colonized areas, he claimed that LTTE had instead attacked armed home guards who were death squads let loose on Tamil civilians and Sinhalese settlers who were brought to the Tamil areas to forcibly occupy the land. The LTTE argued that instances of child recruitment occurred mostly in the eastern province, under the purview of former LTTE regional commander Colonel Karuna. After leaving the LTTE and forming the TMVP, it is alleged that Karuna continued to forcibly kidnap and induct child soldiers. The LTTE executed prisoners of war on a number of occasions, despite its declaration in 1988 that it would abide by the Geneva Conventions. One such incident was the mass murder of 600 unarmed Sri Lankan police officers in 1990 in Eastern Province after they surrendered to the LTTE on the request of President Ranasinghe Premadasa. The LTTE has also tortured its prisoners. The LTTE tortured suspects based on the victims' refusal to cooperate and for giving information to the Sri Lankan Army, or IPKF. Velupillai Prabhakaran, the elusive leader of the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, LTTE, was killed in a dramatic final battle with the Sri Lankan military on May 18, 2009, marking the end of the decades-long civil war. His death, confirmed after intense fighting in the northern region of Mullaitivu, symbolized the collapse of the LTTE's separatist campaign. The Sri Lankan government hailed it as a historic victory, while Tamil communities worldwide mourned the loss of a controversial but charismatic leader. Prabhakaran's assassination left behind a legacy of armed struggle, shattered hopes for Tamil Eelam, and deep scars across Sri Lanka's ethnic divide.